There is absolutely a place for medicine in this world, but your first option should not be to take a pill. Why would you want to take a pill to mask your symptoms instead of alleviating the actual root and the cause of your symptoms? Because once you fix that, then your symptoms will go away on their own.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is episode 7. Just cranking these bad boys out. I hope all of you are enjoying them. I definitely know I am enjoying making them. Just remember that even if you're not listening to all the episodes, downloading all of them is extremely helpful for me since I'm trying to jump up the ranks and move up in the Apple Podcasts app and the iTunes store. So rating and reviewing and downloading all the episodes is very helpful. My guest today is Dr. Dre. You're probably thinking of the black male billionaire hip-hop artist, but I am referring to the Mexican female, amazingly smart, beautiful, and athletic Dr. Dre. They're easily confused. Dr. Andrea Delagarza, or Dre for short. Dre's a doctor of chiropractics, and although this podcast was a little bit shorter compared to the other ones that I've recorded so far, it has been one of my favorites. Growing up in Mexico and Argentina, Dre has a very interesting perspective, and also she was an NCAA athlete in gymnastics, and that's kind of why she wanted to pursue a career in health, and now she is a licensed doctor. Pretty cool. She's a total badass, and I love this conversation that we had. We covered a lot of topics, including growing up in Mexico, coming to America, why chiropractics is so important, stem cell research, and her fitness and training styles. I've known Dre for about a year and a half now. We met at a concert back on Halloween of 2015, I guess it was, yeah. And this was really the first time we actually sat down and talked about her story and her work as a chiropractor. And I learned a lot of new stuff, and I hope you do too. So give it up for Dr. Dre. All right, we're live, Dre.
Hi.
Cool. So this is probably going to be a short podcast because it's really late, and Dre is a grandma and needs to go to sleep. But how old are you, Dre?
I'm 28.
28. How does it feel to be a grandma?
Well,
I'm just kidding. You're totally not a grandma.
Only a grandma on weekdays.
That's true.
Weekends, I stay up till the sun comes up.
There we go. So grandma by week,
Rebel by
teen
week.
by weekend. I like it. So Dre, well, your real name is Andrea, right? Is that how you really say it?
Yes.
And how do you say your last name? Delagarza?
Delagarza.
That's
pretty good.
Pretty good pronunciation, huh? So you're a doctor. Dr. Dre.
That's right.
Literally Dr. Dre.
Literally.
Did you decide that once your name was Dre that you're going to become a doctor, or did you decide that?
I think at one point throughout my childhood, I kept being called Dre, and then I was like, I definitely need to get my doctorate now.
That's awesome. So seriously though, when did you decide that you wanted to be a doctor of chiropractic? Is that what it is? Chiropractics?
Yes, doctor of chiropractic. I actually wanted to be a nurse for a long time, and we kept joking that it'd be Nurse Dre, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. I need to get my doctorate.
You gotta be Dr. Dre.
Right. But
Nurse Dre, yeah, it doesn't have the same ring.
That course changed after undergrad, and I decided to go to chiropractic school. Nice.
So you're a legit doctor. How does that feel?
It feels normal now. It felt surreal for a very long time, especially when all my coworkers call me Dr. Dre, refer to me as Dr. Dre, introduce me to patients as Dr. Dre, and it made me giggle, and I didn't really actually feel like I had the authority for a really long time, but it's dawned on me, and now it just fits, I guess.
That's awesome. So just to kind of give a little bit of context on like who you are and where you're from and all that kind of shit. So were you born in Michigan, or you were just from there?
No, I was born in Mexico.
Wow, so you're straight up Mexican.
Straight up from under the border.
Straight up under the border.
And thankfully I made it here before Trump built any walls.
I was about to make some kind of joke, but that was good enough. So literally Mexican, and you don't look that Mexican. Do people?
No.
People never assume that you're Mexican right off the bat, right?
I'm the pastiest Mexican, the whitest.
Hey, it's okay.
No, my parents, white as hell. My dad gets extremely sunburnt in the sun, so.
That's interesting. And they're both pure Mexican, both your parents?
Literally, my whole family lives in Mexico. In fact, I told you I'm going to Sunset Music Festival next weekend.
And your cousin, right?
My cousin is coming to see me, and we haven't seen each other in 10 years.
Wow.
She lives in Mexico.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What part of Mexico were you born?
Mexico City was where I was born.
Wow. So that's got like 5 million people or something crazy?
Something ridiculous.
And it's like above, it's like really high, right? Like the altitude is really high there?
I don't know if the altitude is high, but I just remember when I lived there, it's surrounded by mountains, so the pollution is terrible because the mountains trap all the pollution in the city, and so they constantly have air advisory days where you like shouldn't be walking outside or running or exercising. So I remember there'd be a ton of times where I couldn't play outside as a kid.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's kind of sketchy.
Right.
Do people wear those like face masks?
No, but they actually have something really cool. So depending on what your license plate ends in or the tag or something, there's one day out of the week where you can't drive your car, and it's scattered throughout the entire, I guess, city of Mexico. So one day out of the week, there's obviously a shit ton less cars on the road. I mean, it just varies throughout the week, but it's by law.
So like every day, everyone has one day.
One day out of the week where they can't operate the vehicle because of their tag or legally. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But it's actually really smart.
That is kind of smart. Like,
and it forces
take a
you
break.
To take public transportation or walk or bike or
borrow someone else's or
right,
whatever.
So exactly.
Carpool. That's an interesting concept. I've never heard of that.
Yep.
It makes a lot of sense. So you were born in Mexico, and then when did you move to America?
I'm a little world
States.
Traveler because I was born in Mexico. I lived there for 7 years. Then I lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina for 2 years.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Then I moved to Michigan in 1998. So it's almost been 20 years since I've been in the U.S.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's cool. So you were 9 when you moved here? Nice. Yep. And in Argentina, they speak Spanish, right? I'm not retarded.
They speak, no, they do. They speak Castellano, which is a different dialect of Spanish. So even when I moved there, I was honestly lost. Like, it was kind of like learning a new language. I definitely understood and got by, but so many of the words are different that I still had to learn a new dialect of Spanish.
That's interesting. So it was a totally different dialect. Do you still have that dialect from there or from Mexico? Or did you lose everything?
I can speak Spanish. I use it to my advantage every time I go get margaritas. I sweet talk the servers, and then they always give me stronger margs or like priority seating. I just did it yesterday, actually. It works.
Nice.
I'm telling you, they love that I'm like this little white girl that can speak Spanish.
That's hilarious. Yeah, in Cinco de Mayo, I remember you were speaking some hilarious Spanish. And there are some video evidence, I believe.
There is some video evidence, I think.
That's amazing. So, so you moved to Michigan, and then what was that like? Like, did you already know English somewhat from school?
Very, very little. No, it's hilarious. They just throw you in school, and they throw you in class. And I even remember my sister, she's 4 years younger, so when we moved to Michigan, I was 9, and she was 5. And they just threw us in English-speaking classes. We didn't know what the hell was going on. The teacher had this whole meeting with my mom. She's like, we need to talk. Your daughter failed her spelling test. My mom was like, no shit. She doesn't know English. Like,
yeah.
It was just...
Did your parents know English?
Yes. My mom a lot more than my dad. My mom went to an American school in Mexico. I don't know how that works, but
yeah,
she's been speaking English the majority of her life.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, like, when you were growing up, did you know English at all, or not really at all? Wow.
No.
That's interesting, because I feel like now more than ever, like in every country, they're teaching English.
So we definitely did. I had an English class. I remember it, but
you didn't really care.
It's the same thing. First of all, I was like 6 or 5. Think about it, because I moved away from Mexico.
But I know that when you're
7.
younger, you can pick up languages
Exactly.
quicker.
So I learned the entire English language in a month. They threw me in classes. I was a gymnast. My teammates helped me, which was obviously very helpful. But as a kid, you just absorb it so fast. And now, I don't know if you can tell I have an accent. I think I have one. Especially when I hear myself.
You have a Michigan accent, but not a Spanish accent.
When I get drunk, it comes out.
Okay. I've never, like, because that's the thing is my cousins are from Michigan. My mom's from Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So my cousins, like, have the same kind of Michigan accent that you do. It's not like, oh my God, you're from Michigan. But it's like, it's a subtle thing that if you know people from Michigan, you're like, oh, she talks like my cousins.
I definitely still say pop on occasion.
Yeah. Pap.
Pop.
Yeah. Give me a pap.
Give me a pop.
Yeah. And if people don't know what we're talking about, that would be the term for a Coke or a soda.
Or a soda.
Or a carbonated beverage.
Carbonated beverage. Pop. That's right.
That's awesome. So, that's really cool. So you still speak fluent Spanish, right? You didn't lose it? Or you kind of lost some?
I've made it a point to practice it a lot more, especially lately. I occasionally get Spanish-speaking patients coming into the clinic.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm the only one that can really speak it. And so it's very hard for me in a medical setting for me to speak about their x-rays, their report of findings, their diagnoses in Spanish. It's extremely hard. Because you don't know
all the medical terms.
Exactly, because I didn't used to speak that when I was a child. But it's really forced me to freshen up my skills. And if anybody knows, you know that I'm addicted to margaritas. So I'm at a Mexican restaurant a minimum of 3 times a week. And every time I go to a Mexican restaurant, I make it a point to order in Spanish, speak to them in Spanish. And I didn't used to do that, but now I force myself to speak it.
That's cool. I wish that I had, like, tried to learn Spanish a lot harder when I was in school, because, like, I had Spanish class, like, every year of high school, and then even 1 year of college, and my Spanish is, like, the worst. And I think it's mainly because of the way that they teach it. Like
They do teach it differently.
Like, you were kind of thrown into classes and just, like, forced to immerse yourself into English, You're gonna sneeze?
Yeah.
It's okay. And, like, how, like, when you're in the classes, they're, like, teaching you... Bless you. They're, like, teaching you all the, like, grammar and, like, conjugations and,
yeah,
like...
it's so weird.
That's not how you learn a language.
I took Spanish in college for blow-off classes.
Yeah.
And the way they teach it it did not make sense to me.
You're like, I've never learned this in my entire life.
I don't know what any of this shit means.
And I speak it fluently. Yeah. So that was
my
whole thing.
I understand. They teach you the proper way to talk, but nobody in society talks properly, saying every single
I don't
noun,
say, hello,
Andrea, how are you doing today?
How are you doing? The fire truck is red. Like, I'm not going to say, like, stupid shit like that. I'm going to be like, yo, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be like,
exactly.
Andrea, can you please point me in the direction of the commode? Or, like, something like that. Like,
right, and they actually do teach you the proper way. Like, even... Like, there are different ways to say, I just know, like, refrigerator was one of them. And I'm like, nobody says refrigerator that way. Like, you don't say refrigerator. Fridge. Yeah, you say fridge. Like, where is your refrigerator?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, but yes, you're right. It's the way they teach it.
Could I inquire about finding your refrigerator?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Precisely. Could you point me in the direction of your refrigerator? That's funny. So like when I lived in Spain last summer for 3 months, and like my Spanish improved a little bit, but like, I see the kids that I au paired for, and like I was forced to communicate with them, like that was my job, was to teach them English, but it wasn't in a way where I said, all right, class, let's sit down
right.
and I'm going to teach you all the conjugations of go is present tense, and then going is like
Right.
in the future. You know, I'm not gonna lay that down. I'm gonna be like, you know, do you know what this means? And point to something, and they're gonna be like, no, and be like, this is pool. We're gonna go to the pool. You know.
And that's exactly how I teach branch, actually. And we've talked about it. I was just gonna start labeling objects around his house because he wants to learn Spanish. So like next to the light switch, I'll put luz, and he knows that means light. Or like on the door, puerta. And then that, once you know objects, it'll be a lot easier to form sentences. But if you see it every single day, and like I have a sticker in front of the TV that says televisión, like it's a good way to learn, and it's an easy way to learn.
Yeah.
So Branch is in the little, he's my little prodigy.
I like it. That's awesome. That's cool.
And for those who don't know branches, it's not just a tree, it's my boyfriend.
He's not just a tree, even though he is quite large.
Large branch.
Like a strong oak, but he is not a tree.
Like strong twig. Like a fortified twig.
That's like learning English and you call him like big twig or something. Branch. I like that.
Oh god.
That's awesome. So cool. Let's talk about your job and like what you do as a chiropractor, because like I don't really know anything about chiropractics or really anything, and actually I've never like officially formally ever been to a chiropractor. I know my dad went to a chiropractor for a while. Mm-hmm. And I used to like go to the office and stuff, and I remember like after he was done, every time he was, I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Feels so good.
But
it's
like
the best. You get addicted to crack.
Yeah. the crack. I like that. So number one, how did you even get involved in that? Like, how did you choose that?
So I mentioned earlier I wanted to be a nurse. I've known for a pretty long time I wanted to do something in the health field. I was an athlete my whole life. I was a gymnast, competed all the way through college, and I knew I just wanted to help people. And again, I thought I was going to be a nurse. I had an internship that was required for me to graduate. I worked in a hospital under the supervision of nurses, and it could have been the hospital, it could have been the staff, but all I heard every day was, I'm overworked, underpaid, complaining, I'm tired, I don't want to go see this patient. There was a lot of negativity in the hospital, and then once I was surrounded in it, not only from the nurses, but it just seemed like there had to be a different way. I was always around sick patients that weren't getting better. They would give them more medicine, and then more medicine, and then that medicine made them sick, and then they needed to take another medicine because of the side effect of that medicine. And it was just like a chain reaction, and I just figured there had to be a different way to healthcare, and it just didn't make sense.
There has to be.
And so I started looking into alternative healthcare. Somebody told me to go job shadow a chiropractor, and so I did, and it seemed to click. It made sense. I didn't know too much about chiropractic. I wasn't closed off to it, but I just wasn't educated in it until I was 22 years old. And it just clicked and it made sense. So I started looking into chiropractic schools, and then I moved down to Georgia in 2012 specifically for doctorate chiropractic school, and then I graduated in 2015, and I'm still here.
Nice.
I'm working.
That's awesome. So you went to school at Central Michigan? Is that where you went?
Central Michigan University is where I got my undergrad.
And that's where you were a gymnast the whole time?
Yes.
That's really awesome.
Yes.
And so did like being a gymnast have anything to do with you choosing to be a chiropractor, or not really?
Just in the sense that I knew I wanted to be a healthcare provider of some sort.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Cool.
Because I had a vast amount of injuries in my career.
Yeah.
And I had some really amazing doctors, and it made me want to have that kind of relationship with people and help them and really genuinely change their life. I had doctors that did change my life.
That's really awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I wasn't an athlete. Like, I was always, playing sports and stuff growing up, but I never was at that level where I was competing at a college level or anything. And so I never had that close relationship with doctors, so that's really cool.
Oh, it was, I loved it. I miss it. I'm like a grandma still trying to I'm still trying to tumble at the ripe age of 28. My joints don't like it as much.
I saw you posted something on Instagram about that the other day.
Yeah, I was just at Piedmont Park this weekend, and anytime you give me open space and maybe throw in a drink or two, I'm doing gymnastics every single time.
That's awesome.
No doubt about it.
That's awesome. So you decided you want to be a chiropractor, and you moved down to good old Georgia.
Good old Georgia, that's right.
Did you know anybody here, or were you totally...
I did. So my ex, actually, we were together at Central Michigan University, and then we broke up, and then he moved down here for grad school, and then he was the one that actually told me to job shadow. And at the time, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want people to think I was following him down here. But then we're mutual friends now, and I'm really thankful for him. He's a great person, and he's the one that kind of showed me this career path.
That's cool.
And so he's a great, successful chiropractor in California. So if you're in California, go see Dr. Ralph Ramon.
There we go.
But, yeah. So
killing it.
He's the one that pointed me in this direction.
That's awesome. So then you went to Life University, right?
Yes.
Nice. How was that? It's cool? Good? Bad? Weird?
Chiropractic as a career is amazing, but you just got to jump through hoops and get through school.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yes.
So, okay, so like for me, who I literally have no idea about chiropractic, and to be totally candid and be totally honest, I've definitely heard like a lot of, people that will say, oh, well, chiropractic is bullshit, and like, it's not a real, it's not a real thing. You're just like cracking people's backs.
You're not a real doctor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, that's just things that people say, and I think a lot of times that, they don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, what do you think about that? And like, what would you tell people that are, maybe that's their view of chiropractics right now?
So coming into this career field, I already knew that patient education was going to be a huge portion of it. The way the United States mentality, it's very pharmaceutical based, and the medical doctor told me to do this, so it must be right. And it's just the way our country and our society has been, I guess, brought up to believe that it's the only way. And
doctors know everything.
Exactly. And medical doctors are extremely smart, and there is absolutely a place for medicine in this world, but your first option should not be to take a pill. That should not be right. Why would you want to take a pill to mask your symptoms instead of alleviating the actual root and the cause of your symptoms? Because once you fix that, then your symptoms will go away on their own. And it's been very hard, and it's been a barrier to get through to educating all my patients, but I've gotten better. I've learned a ton from my colleagues. I work in an integrated practice, actually. I guess I should say this, which is really cool because I work alongside a medical doctor, a nurse practitioner, and another chiropractor. So I've learned a ton from the medical side, and I feel like I've gained so much knowledge in the last year, but the big misconception is that chiropractic is specifically for back pain and for neck pain. And really, chiropractic is dealing with your nervous system. The way I explain it to my patients is, so you have the most important organ, your brain, and then your spinal cord is the highway that tells every single function in your body what to do. It tells your lungs to breathe for you, your heart to beat for you, your kidneys to detoxify for you, and where does every single nerve stem from? Your spinal cord. Every single branch stems from that spinal cord. And you have vertebrae that are there to protect that spinal cord. Well, occasionally, every joint in our body is meant to move. Your vertebrae are joints separated by discs. Occasionally, those will get a subluxation, which just basically means a misalignment, a joint fixation, and it will have some sort of nerve interference. You won't have 100% brain-body connection, and I use basically a kink in a hose as an analogy. So yes, the water is still flowing, but not at 100%. You could be having better muscle contraction, and this is getting a little bit in depth, but that's just the analysis I try to bring forth to my patient's mind and try to educate them, and I try to use layman's terms. And then, they're like, well, chiropractic sounds like once you go, you have to continue going for the rest of your life. And I'm like, Well, if you get to a certain level and alleviate your symptoms and you're healthy, why wouldn't you want to keep that level of health? Just like you go to the gym. You go to the gym, you build up your muscles to a certain level, you lose weight, you build up your cardiovascular ability. If you stop going to the gym, you're absolutely going to regress. It's the exact same analogy. What do you think, you're just like magically going to continue that level without doing anything about it? It's something that you need to continue working at for the rest of your life, and you don't need to continue going and get adjusted 5 times a week for the rest of your life. Once we get rid of your symptoms and you are healthy, you just maintain. You go maybe twice a month just to make sure that everything's in line and everything's in check and your nervous system is working at 100%.
That makes sense. I've also heard another like good analogy that was talking about bathing. It's like, you don't, if you're super dirty and you've never bathed in your whole life and then you bathe once and then say like, well, now I'm going to have to bathe forever. It's like you don't take a bath one time.
Right.
It's necessary to bathe every single day.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I love that analogy. And I think that it is quite silly that people would, you know, because I've heard people say that, you know, well, once you start going to the chiropractor, you just got to keep going because, like, then you just don't feel the same. And it's like, well,
you're right.
Don't you want to feel good?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You don't feel the same. You start to feel worse again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was joking when I said you get addicted to the crack, but now that I've been regularly adjusted for the last 5 or so years, I can genuinely feel when I'm like, okay, I can't tell you what my subluxation is, but I can, okay, so my neck is a little achy right here, and my boyfriend, Branch, is actually a chiropractor, so it's very convenient. Whenever I have anything going on, he's right there. And actually, one of the reasons I did start to look into this career field, I kind of forgot to mention this, was I have been a chronic headache sufferer since the age of 13, and I remember that so specifically because I remember being in 7th grade, going to my pediatrician, and she looked at me and she's like, well, you're just stressed, and she handed me a script. I was like, well, what the hell am I stressed about? I'm 13 years old. They didn't assess anything. Medical doctors a lot of times look at you and they write you a script. They're like, great, I understand that this is getting rid of my pain, but what is causing my headaches? There's a reason I'm getting headaches. What's that reason? All you're doing is taking away the pain. And pain is there to tell you that there's something wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and so chiropractic basically is like you said, it's not just for your neck and back, it's for your entire body, but the main focus is your neck and back, right? Because
it's your nervous system in general. I mean, it's your spine. So yes, a lot of people associate it with neck and back because that's where your spine runs. But there are chiropractors that adjust extremities, and you'd be amazed how well that works too, with shoulders, with knees, with ankles. Sure. Every joint has the capability to subluxate or fixate, like I said, and as soon as you adjust it, you'd be amazed how much better you feel.
Yeah, that's amazing. So basically, you know, like you said, a lot of people, especially in America, a lot of doctors, they just want to write you a script. And I'm definitely, it's hard for me to, you know, argue with the doctor because obviously they know a lot more than me. But I'm listening to a doctor right now, and, you know, you're saying a lot of interesting things about, you know, preventative measures and how, you know, just taking a pill is not the answer. And I think that that's 100% correct. I know that in Asian medicine, it's very, very different. They're extremely preventative. And they're very hesitant to just write you a prescription. And I used to work for a company that made a liquid multivitamin, and I remember that the top formulator, the guy who basically invented the whole vitamin, he had a master's in American science, and then he was Chinese, and he also had a master's in where I think he was, you know, went to school in China or whatever.
Right.
And so it was crazy because he had this amazing perspective on both sides.
Right.
And I won't ever forget, he did this talk at this giant convention that we had, and he was talking about all that, and he was basically saying, you know, I'm a doctor from both worlds, and I'm here to say that you shouldn't listen to every doctor.
Right.
You know, and that lots of doctors are trying to make money off of you rather than your well-being being their number one priority.
I think the most frustrating thing is, like you said, once you have the title doctor in front of your name, you can make anything you want up, and most people will believe you. And it's a little frustrating that people can't do their own research, and it's definitely frustrating that the way American mentality has pushed the concept that a pill can solve everything. This pill will make you lose 30 pounds. This pill will make you faster. This pill will take your pain away. And that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about lifestyle and the nutrition you put into your body and what you do to increase, again, like going to the gym, build up your muscles, getting adjusted, making sure your nervous system works well. It's things like that instead of taking a pill for everything.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So for someone who's like listening right now and, you know, they're experiencing some weird pain, or maybe they, you know, are interested in getting into, you know, coming to a chiropractor or whatever, maybe their excuse for that would be, you know, well, it's really expensive to go to a chiropractor or something. What are the, you know, just for someone listening out there, like how affordable is going to a chiropractor, and like, you know, yeah.
It's frustrating with insurances, I'll be honest about that, because it really truly seems that, well, insurance covers pills, we all know that, and that's the most frustrating part. And it's very hard to try to get people to understand that what insurance covers is not necessarily what's going to get you well. There are a lot of services that we provide out of my clinic. Again, remember, I work with a medical doctor, and the services that get patients well are the ones that are not covered by insurance. And the insurance will cover a $60,000 total knee replacement before they cover stem cell therapy, which literally regenerates the joint.
Which is crazy.
And it's ridiculous, and I don't know if it'll ever be covered. So if you're just
with
talking
research and with the general public being educated, I think it might. But as it stands right now, there's just too much money to be made off of all of the other stuff.
And when people are like, well, why isn't it covered? And I try to explain, I'm like, well, if this procedure is covered that actually does fix the problem, think of how much money it's taking away from the medical industry. It's taking away from pharmaceuticals, from the medical doctor providing the surgery, from the physical therapist. And PT is alternative, so don't think I'm bashing that. But it's not ready to be covered yet, and stem cell therapy has been done in Mexico, in Europe, in China for years and years and years before us, and it takes so long to come over here because, again, the mentality that we have with health in general. But everybody knows the United States is not very freaking healthy, so I don't know why we continue down the same path.
But I know that Mexico now is also having a pretty big epidemic with health as well. I know that that
could be true. No, I don't genuinely. I do not keep up with Mexican medicine. I guess you would say. But
yeah, it's interesting because I heard something that don't quote me on this, but you know, someone listening to this podcast is probably yelling at me. But I'm pretty sure I heard that Mexico might have passed the United States in percentage of obesity or something crazy like that. But I have no idea.
I don't know.
Don't quote me on that.
I would be shocked.
Yeah,
I would be shocked.
But either way, I think just the way that our world has gone in a lot of ways has gone towards not being healthy.
It's so sad.
Because so many things are handed to us.
Especially things that are 100% reversible. I get so many of my patients that are obese, overweight, with type 2 diabetes. And I'm like, well, are you checking your blood sugar? What are you doing? And they have diabetic neuropathy, and they're like, no, like, I take a pill. I'm like, type 2 diabetes is 100% caused by the shit you're putting in your body or not doing, or
you developed it.
And they're just so like lackadaisical about their life. I'm like, you do realize you only have one body, right? All right, what kind of quality of life do you want to live? I'm not really sure if we're on the same page here. But they're just, I'm like, you know, the diabetic neuropathy literally causes people to lose limbs. No, apparently they don't. It's so hard to get through some people's heads. But again, it takes being open-minded and being willing. If you're not going to listen to the first opinion, that's cool. You should be probably guarded, but go do your own research. There's a lot on the internet. You can do your own research and have both sides and maybe make your own educated decision based on the research going both ways.
Yeah. 100%. You mentioned stem cells a little bit ago, and I'm extremely fascinated by stem cell research. What have you seen as from being like a doctor? What have you seen as far as transformations and how stem cell research has changed people?
So, in my clinic, we actually do stem cell procedures out of my clinic.
Wow. Injections?
Injections, and so this is gonna blow your mind. This is the coolest thing ever, and this is new to my clinic. So we've been doing joint injections for several years.
So for people listening that don't know what that is, kind of like explain a little bit.
Okay, so anytime you have arthritis, there are 3 different phases of degeneration. Phase 1, you're mild. Phase 2, moderate. Phase 3, you're basically bone on bone, and that's when an orthopedic doctor will be like, you need a knee replacement surgery, you need a hip replacement, you need a shoulder replacement.
Like the meniscus is totally gone.
There's just no cartilage, no shock absorber, nothing there, and the bone is grinding on top of each other. There's nothing you can do at that point. And most patients, when you are grinding like that, you do need a knee replacement. Or I keep saying knee because it's a weight-bearing joint, and it's one of the most common joints that we inject. Well, out of my clinic, we do placental stem cell injections. So they take the stem cells from the placenta of a healthy baby at the time of a delivery. The mother she goes through a rigorous screening process, C-section, and then they harvest those stem cells. Basically, a stem cell is the precursor cell to any other cell in our body. So it's a stem cell, and then it'll become bone or ligament or tendon or cartilage or fat or nerve, any other cell that it needs to be.
So when a baby is being formed, are they 100% stem cells in the beginning?
Right. It's basically a stem cell, and then the baby is born. Yeah,
and it becomes
the
everything.
Baby is formed.
So the idea being that if you can, these stem cells, they can become any type of cell in the whole body. They can become
any cell. And the stem cells are intelligent enough to know what they need to turn into. Specifically when they're injected, they go to the area of damage or injury. So if you inject it into a closed joint, so an encapsulated joint, which is your knee, it literally regenerates that tissue. So you go from having no cartilage or little cartilage to having that open space. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, on a knee x-ray, you'll have the femur, and then you'll have your tibia, and then you're supposed to have a space, which is that knee joint. That's what it rebuilds. It'll rebuild that black space. And I can speak from experience because being a gymnast, I had multiple ankle breaks to my right ankle, and I'm 28 years old. I was having pain walking, getting out of bed every single morning. I'd limp to the bathroom, super stiff. And basically, I went to the doctor, and they're like, you have basically early onset arthritis. And so working at this clinic, my boss let me get a stem cell injection for free. And so I got my stem cell injection in my ankle in October of 2016, and it takes a whole year for the tissue to regenerate, whatever the damaged tissue is. Like I said, the stem cells are intelligent enough to know what needs repair, whether it be my ligament or my tendon or my cartilage or whatever it be. And I don't limp out of bed in the morning anymore. I can run, I can do gymnastics. I mean, I almost have a better ankle than my left one.
That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. And I've heard, actually, I've listened to a lot of podcasts talking about stem cell research, and it's so fascinating. How do the stem cells know where they are? Do they talk to the other cells, basically?
Basically, it really is that kind of innate communication between the cells, and they're actually attracted to inflammation. So arthritis, if you don't know what that means, literally means inflammation of a joint. So
anything that's itis, isn't that inflammation based?
Itis is inflammation, and arthro is joint.
Gotcha. So anything itis is always inflammation
based.
Itis is
always.
Gotcha.
So cystitis is inflammation of your bladder. For example, if you guys want a little lesson. But really cool, actually, because I just got home from work, and I told Andrew that I'm a grandma, and it was a really long day. The most amazing thing that we're doing now is reversing or halting, I don't even know if I can say curing yet because it's very new, but autoimmune diseases. So ALS, if you don't know what that is, it's Lou Gehrig's disease.
The ice bucket challenge
right.
thing. Yeah.
Parkinson's, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, patients with kidney failure, and these are all terminal illnesses. You're going to eventually die from it. And what we're doing out of my clinic now is we take your own stem cells. It has to be your own, and those either come from your fat, so your adipose or your bone marrow. We take them from your fat. So basically today, all day at work, what we did was you have like a mini liposuction. We take your stem cells out, separate them from your fat, harvest them, and then re-inject them into you intravenously. And when you have a whole body infusion of stem cells, it regenerates whatever it needs to be. So for Crohn's disease, it'd go to like the digestive system. For heart failure, it knows, like I said, the cells know what needs repair. So the heart or the lungs, cystic fibrosis, and we had a couple of these patients. And if you don't know what rheumatoid arthritis, it's systemic disease where basically you have entire body inflammation. So all your joints are deformed, your fingers will be swollen and crooked. And we had a patient that had the stem cell IV infusion a month ago. She came in today and I saw her hands, like with my own eyes, for the first time in her life, her fingers were straight. Like, and it sounds like almost too good to be true or too good to believe, but it's literally just inflammation that's causing the deformation. So once that inflammation is gone, because the stem cells are going, like I said, systemically throughout the whole body, it was crazy. And she was like moving her hands and telling me how she didn't have pain.
That's
so
crazy.
It's been really, really cool.
So it's a stem cell IV?
IV. So instead of going into a joint, it's a different procedure. If you have arthritis in just one knee, you would just get one joint injected. But for example, we also had a patient that had multiple sclerosis. And if you don't know, again, that's something that's going to kill you. There's no cure for it. There's only medicine to cover up the symptoms, help you better live your life, but it's not going to cure it. And she had numbness and tingling all the time, down her fingers, down her legs. And again, we did a follow-up call. The only one I've seen was a rheumatoid arthritis one, but we did a follow-up call, and she said that 3 days after the IV infusion, she didn't have numbness and tingling in her hands.
That's crazy.
And these are going to be multiple procedures, so it's not just going to be a one-time infusion. They need to keep coming back every 8 weeks or so, because this is a disease they've had for years and years and years, and it's obviously
can't be reversed in one
right. It can't
session.
be reversed in one set, and I still can't even say that we're curing it, but it's absolutely reversing some of the signs, and there's nothing else in medicine that does this right now.
That's incredible.
And so it's really cool. It's really life-changing.
That's absolutely insane. So since they're being injected intravenously, the idea is instead of just injecting into this one spot, it's literally being spread throughout the entire
body. Absolutely.
So how much do you have? Like you said, you basically take these stem cells from the fat. Mm-hmm. Why are there stem cells in fat? What is that doing?
That's I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I just know that the larger concentration of stem cells are in adipose tissue and in bone marrow. So I know we've all heard of bone marrow transplants. That's because usually leukemia means cancer of the blood. So what you need is a bone marrow transplant of those stem cells, and that happens in kids. So this has been going on for a long time, just in a little different branch of medicine, which would be like cancer, obviously.
Yeah.
But so that's just where the larger concentration of stem cells are.
Gotcha.
Is
So
our
you
fat
can
and our
just
bone
get
marrow.
them. Gotcha. Because I wasn't familiar with. I knew about placental stem cells and stuff, because obviously you can harvest a lot from that.
Yes.
Why can't you use placental stem cells in an IV? Why do they have to be from the same person?
They have to be your own, because since it's an intravenous infusion, the placental stem cells that we use for joint have very, very microscopic bits of tissue, and when it's into a joint, that's fine, but you can't intravenously put that into somebody's body, because it could cause a blood clot. If you're putting any tiny amounts of tissue into somebody's veins or arteries, you could technically cause a stroke or a blood clot or some sort. So it has to be your own stem cells. There's no chance of rejection for either of them. For placental, there's no chance of rejection, because you're taking it from the baby side before the baby has any chance to form antigens or antibodies. So you can't form an immune response or reject it for joints. And then for your own, you can't reject your own cells. So there's never the chance of rejection. And we've performed over 300,000 injections in the last 5 years out of our clinic.
Wow.
And we have had 0 adverse reactions.
Wow. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. So when you harvest them from a placenta, you said you had to screen the mom before and all that.
Yep.
Did they get paid for that?
Yeah, I'm sure it's similar, like as to a female donating her eggs. You know, girls can donate her eggs, and or even I remember I used to donate plasma in college for money.
Wow.
My little poor ass. And I was like, I'm gonna start donating plasma for money.
Was it painful?
No, I still have actually like I have really good veins, as you can see.
You have amazing veins.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I had like after a while, you do start to get a little bit of scar tissue because you're getting poked on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So over time, it gets a little bit more tender.
You're like
but
a heroin addict. I'm just kidding.
No, but I have some good veins.
I'm just kidding. You do have some good veins. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing that I had heard about recently, I'd heard of it before, but I had it explained to me a little bit better. Are you familiar with Regenikine? Do you know what that is?
Regenikine?
Yeah. I heard it.
Say something
I'm
about
probably
it.
going to botch it a little bit, but basically, I know that, like, Kobe Bryant and, like, a couple other athletes, a couple other older athletes have had this procedure done where basically they take your blood and they put it in this centrifuge and spin it like crazy, and then they heat it up. And during that process, the blood creates some sort of anti-inflammatory response.
Okay.
And because it thinks, the spinning and the heat, it's some sort of inflammatory thing. So the blood is creating this anti-inflammatory substance. And when it, after this procedure is done, it's like this yellowy stuff.
So that actually sounds really similar to one of the procedures at my clinic. I'll let you finish and then I'll...
Yeah. And basically, that was pretty much the end of it. And then they inject it back into you. And since your own blood has created this crazy anti-inflammatory response, and you're injecting it back into your body, it's able to,
heal and regenerate.
And since you're injecting it back into your bloodstream, it spreads to your whole entire body, and you're able to remove tons of inflammation.
I've actually also, since I work at this clinic, I get all these services for free, which is great.
That's amazing.
Maybe I think we're thinking of the same thing, but what we call it, or what I know it as,
probably
is
a weird name.
platelet-rich plasma PRP therapy.
Gotcha.
So what it is, it sounds exactly like what you're saying. You take your own blood, you spin it, you separate the red, which is the hemoglobin, from the yellow, which is the platelets, growth factors, cytokines, a very small amount of stem cells, and then you re-inject that back into your body. So the yellow healing properties. Many times what we do it as is in joints. When you re-inject those healing properties into a small enclosed joint, it has the capability to reduce inflammation, regenerate tissue. So it's, if you can think of the gold standard, it's stem cell. So stem cells are the Maserati, and platelet-rich plasma therapy is like the Lexus.
Gotcha.
So that's in comparison.
Is it cheaper of an option? Is that why people would choose to do it?
It's way cheaper to do platelet-rich plasma. They're both not covered by insurance. They both work.
Yeah.
But
if you have the luxury to do it, though,
if I had the choice, I would for sure do stem cells. But some people have money problems, and I understand. Yeah. And it still has great healing properties, but it's just not the gold standard, like I said. So the Maserati. Yeah. But I've had both procedures done, and they both do work.
That's awesome. And you had them done on your ankles?
Both of them, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because this little shitty ankle of mine.
How many times did you break it?
Like 8, 7,
wow.
9. I don't know, a lot.
So it's just fucked.
I was in a cast almost every single summer. Gymnastics is a winter sport, and so I compete January to April, and then every damn summer I'd be in a cast. I didn't let it stop me from doing anything fun. I'd still go tubing, go in the pool. My cast would get fucked, but I would just go get it changed.
That's hilarious. So, all this like stem cell stuff, is that in your area, in the chiropractic area? You said you kind of work in this mixed environment, which sounds really interesting.
It's out of my scope of practice in the fact that I can't inject anything into anybody. That's out of my scope of practice. I can't prescribe anything. I can't inject you with anything, but working alongside the MD and the nurse practitioner, I've learned so much. In fact, I give seminars all around Georgia on stem cell therapy, which again, I said I've grown so much in the last year since I've been working for this company. I used to shit myself when it came to public speaking, and my boss forced me to get out there, and I lecture at golf clubs, country clubs, restaurants, and I'll stand there and give an hour lecture to layman's people that don't know anything about stem cell.
That's so
cool. And they
cool.
come in with a joint issue or an autoimmune disease, something that they know it can't be cured, and I lecture, and then they come into my clinic. So that's how we are educating and getting patients, is by going out in the community, and we call them lunch and learns because we provide you with lunch. So if anything, you leave with a full stomach and knowledge. Yeah. It's good.
It's a great way of, marketing your stuff, but at the same time, like you said, educating patients and getting people actual help.
Right.
That's really cool, because a lot of times, people are thinking of, because that's what selling is. You're explaining your product and then like selling it, and that's really cool. That's awesome that you've kind of been able to get out of your comfort zone. I know you're trying to go to bed soon.
No, I'm not. You're good. It's 11. You gotta go tuck me in, Andrew.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I know this is last minute, and it's actually pretty late, but just let me know when you need to wrap it up. But
no, I'm good.
This is actually really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Yeah, good. So like when you give these talks, like what other kind of stuff do you talk about? Because like, you said you talk for an hour. Like how much, what do you talk about?
So a lot of it is, I educate on what stem cells are, on what they do, on what we do out of our clinic, on the studies behind it. I mean, people need to understand what it is, and they need to feel comfortable making this decision and really having all the knowledge, specifically because, again, it's not covered by insurance, and people are so hung up on the insurance thing all the time. And I get it. Insurance is expensive. I understand, but the stuff that works a lot of times isn't covered by insurance. So I educate on what it is, the physiological process, how it works, the process. Anytime you do decide to get the injection, we bring you back every 3 months because it takes an entire year for that tissue to regenerate. But we re-x-ray you because we want to assess your progress along the way. I talk about pricing. I let them know off the bat that it's not covered by insurance. I'm not trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
So by the time they come into the clinic, they understand. I'm like, but listen, if you are in pain every single day, your knee hurts every single day, what are your options? Take medicine, cover up the symptoms, do nothing, continue to live in pain, stem cell therapy, or surgery. It's not like you have that many damn options, especially when I'm talking about arthritis. When you're talking about other injuries, if you tear your ACL, go get that shit repaired. Like, I'm not saying don't get surgery, but there are other ways.
There's a lot of alternate ways
around surgery, specifically when it's a joint replacement. And I don't think people understand how traumatic that is, and it has a genuinely pretty high failure rate. 50-50 of my patients will come in and they'll say it either got infected or their body rejected it, or it still hurts, or it hurts worse. And it's so frustrating because once you had that joint replaced, stem cells aren't going to do shit to metal. So no, I can't help you.
So when someone's getting a joint replacement, it's not like they're having a donor. It's a piece of metal.
You are literally taking a piece of metal and shoving it into your femur, and taking another piece of metal and shoving it into your tibia, and creating a fake joint out of metal. And
it's literally like a joint, it's not anything like your kneecap. They're not putting a fake kneecap.
And if you haven't seen it, like, I'm telling you, literally, please go Google this. It's so traumatic. They're sitting there hammering the metal into your bone. It's so gross.
Because your femur is strong as hell.
It's the strongest bone in the body.
Yeah, so obviously they've got to put some force in that.
They got to put some force behind it. Yeah, and again, some patients do need a total knee replacement or a total shoulder replacement because they'll be so bone on bone and so much grinding that there's not enough tissue for the stem cells to know what to regenerate. And there's not a blueprint.
Bind to anything.
Right, there's not a blueprint. They just don't know what they're supposed to turn to. So at that point, there have been a couple times where we'll be like, listen, I know this is going to help you. It's not going to hurt, but I don't know. Is it going to help you 30%? Is it going to help you 40%? What are your options here? Do you want to go get your knee replaced? And I'll be like, no, I'm 85. I don't want to go get my knee replaced. I have a higher chance of dying on the table. I'm like, okay, then yes, I'll approve you for stem cell therapy. If this is your only option, you just got to realize you have to have realistic. It's going to work. It always works. You just have to have realistic results. It's not going to give you a brand new 30-year-old knee when it's already bone on bone grinding away at the actual bone.
Yeah. So I think when a lot of people hear about stem cells, they don't know that much about it and stuff. So like you said, you have to kind of go to these places and educate people. I think that country clubs and golf clubs and stuff like that are definitely a great place because you've got old people. They're still trying to be athletic.
That's my biggest client. Well, for stem cells in specific, it's anytime you have arthritis, it's an older population.
Yeah. But like you said, you can also do like shoulder injections, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because
Any joint.
unfortunately my dad, he had shoulder surgery like maybe like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unfortunate because I actually learned about stem cells kind of around the time that he kind of just decided to do the surgery because I don't know exactly what happened, but he was getting off of a boat and he screwed it up somehow. And I think he tore something or broke something. I don't know exactly. But I think that probably stem cells could have helped in a lot of ways, but I don't know.
And now if I
couldn't explain it well enough to him that he would even take a serious look at it.
And
he was like, "No, the doctor said I need surgery."
Absolutely right, and that's what's so frustrating. And like I said, if it's a full tear, if you completely tore your rotator cuff, completely tore your ACL, completely tore your Achilles, you will need surgical repair. But if it's a partial tear, the stem cells can heal that actually. They can regenerate the rest because like I said, there's still some attachment, so they just attach to the rest of what is still attached.
That's
but
awesome.
if it's a full-blown tear, if your dad had a full-blown tear, he would have needed surgery.
Kind of like when Branch tore his Achilles.
Yes. Branch demolished his Achilles. Like literally when the surgeon went to repair it, he said it looked like a frayed broom. Like his Achilles and his calf, it was just like the tendon and the muscle was just
That's crazy.
It was so gross.
Yeah. So to kind of tell that story real fast, we were at this ninja course place and we were just doing, it's a ninja course, so it's got all
We're
these
doing the warped wall.
We're doing the warped wall. Yeah, and you have to run at this wall and go up it, and Branch took, he'd done it a couple times.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was the first try, and like kind of just slammed the front of his foot into the wall, which
caused the kind of
hyper like
flexion
like
of
imagine
his ankle.
toe like going towards his shin.
Yeah.
And so that much
Force
stress and force on his Achilles just literally tore it in half.
It was so terrible.
And I remember, if you can reach down and touch the back of your heel or the back of your Achilles, it's tight. Like you touch it and it's like a solid, big fat tendon kind of thing.
It's a huge tendon.
And when it breaks like that, you push that in, and it is squishy and
his foot was literally dangling. He had nothing attached, right?
He had nothing to pull it back. Yeah. It was so gross because like you could just touch his Achilles and it was gooey.
Yeah.
Like because it wasn't attached to anything anymore.
Oh god.
It was so disgusting. So how did they go in? I know they had to cut into his calf basically into the lower part.
They go in, they cut, and then they.
How do they even repair that?
They sew your calf muscle because your calf muscle turns into your Achilles tendon. That's how it attaches into your calcaneus, which is your heel. So they re-sew it back and anchor it with some metal. But then what's really cool is like the human body's amazing. Is the Achilles tendon regrows, but the sewing it basically tells it what path to regrow in by sewing it. So his Achilles now, his right one that he tore, is about double the size of the other one because it's like it's almost like the body overly strengthened. It's the same thing as like if you ever were to do a box jump and hit your shin and then you heal and you have a bump there, the body will re-strengthen that bone like extra because it's like, well shit, I got hit there before, it might get hit there again, and so it'll build extra bone on that area. Same thing with like muscle, and it repairs.
That's really interesting. That's fascinating. So basically the broken one is probably stronger now than the other one.
Yeah, it's a little bit less flexible because it's freaking huge tendon, but he has full use. He just went to Shaky Beats, danced the night away for 3 days.
Yeah.
Branch, he's more of a grandpa than I am. He just turned 30.
Wow, big 3-0. That's awesome though. So kind of going back to stem cells, like whenever before I was educated on what they were and how awesome they were, I think people had kind of like a weird like negative taste in their mouth because of the whole like President Bush thing. Do you know much about that? Like, do people ask you about that?
So there's a misconception too because So there are 3 different kind of stem cells. There are placental stem cells, which I told you come from amniotic tissue, placenta of a baby. There are adult stem cells, which come from bone marrow or fat, which I also talked about. And then there are embryonic, which is illegal. That's when you're literally growing body parts in a petri dish. And that's what the whole weird dilemma was with Bush. And
what did he say? He banned the testing of embryonic stem
and that's
cells.
what's illegal, and it should. In China, sure, they're probably growing body parts.
They're probably growing full-blown clones.
Right, but that's just not ethical. And so a lot of people, again, it just takes educating yourself and having an open mind. But placental, embryonic, completely different. Not at all the same thing.
I heard about this one lady that was the doctors were able to regenerate an entire new, I think it was her spleen or something like that, externally using stem cells. Like they were able to use some cells that were existing from her body, grow this thing outside, and then transplant it into her. That's crazy.
Now I feel like that's embryonic. I feel like that's what's illegal.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I just know the growing of any tissue outside of the human body is what is illegal.
Gotcha.
But it's also crazy.
What if you were using placental stem cells to do that? Is that possible? Like if you were somehow created an environment where the stem cells knew to create another spleen, but it wasn't inside of the human body?
I think the concept of growing any tissue or organ or body part outside of the human body is just considered embryonic. I could be wrong.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I know we're not making clones anytime soon. I would have totally already cloned myself if that was the case. One of me can go to work, the other one can sleep
and party
and go get margaritas.
There we go. But see, that's a weird concept because like, which one's you? Are you the one that sleeps and go gets margaritas?
I would get bored after a while. Shit, yeah. I would have to alternate. I would just alternate.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that makes sense. But like, it's such a weird concept of like making. It's so weird. And do you think it's possible to clone somebody? Like, do you think it would be?
Yeah, I think we have the technology and the advancements. I mean, they already
cloned a lamb. Do you think there's clones already going out?
They cloned Dolly, the sheep or whatever.
Yeah. So do you think that there's probably clones out there in like China or something?
Oh God, I don't know.
I feel like there's got to be. Like you said, if the technology's there, like you literally just said the technology's there. If the technology's there, you know there's some kind of like mad scientist.
So man, they're just growing them.
Literally, dude. Like, come on.
That's crazy.
There's got to be some rich dude that's trying to clone himself.
There has to be.
Yeah, or create like a surrogate body so when he dies, he can just transplant his brain into his body or something
that
crazy.
That stuff is cool. I love that.
That'd be so weird.
It's so intriguing to me.
Something that I was actually talking about, I recorded a podcast this morning with my friend Trey, and we were talking about consciousness.
Trey and Dre all in one day?
Yeah, wow. Whoa. That even totally, wow. Trey, Dre all in one day.
Dre all day.
Dre all day. All day,
Trey all day, Dre all night.
There we go. I'm gonna leave that one. So we were talking about consciousness, and we were saying like we don't fully even understand like where consciousness lies. Like, is it in the brain or is it in the body? Like, is it everywhere? Is it in your spine? Like, where is it? If you transplant your brain into another body, do they take on the brain of you, or are they still them? Or, how much of your body is you? Are you just your brain? Are you just your consciousness? Like, there's so many questions.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Like if you had a surrogate body that was, created out of, let's say embryonic stem cells, and you created...
Doesn't that go to the movie Get Out?
Kind of.
They're transplanting brains.
Oh, that's true. And I had the same kind of question.
And the grandma was still the grandma to an extent. Right? Or
that
whatever?
Just tripped me out. I just have like the chills kind of, because I was like,
we were just talking about that.
Yeah, so we went to see the movie Get Out, and in the movie, or like a while ago, but we went and saw it together. And in the movie, basically they were taking the old people of this family and cutting open the brains of these black people, and then putting the old white people's brains in the black people. And yeah.
Oh my God, I love that movie so
It was
much.
such a good movie, and like that description of it was so hilarious because that's exactly what happens. Like, it seems so silly, but like Yes, it was
If
some
you haven't
racist old
seen
white
it,
people.
go see it,
Some
but-
racist old white people that
It was great.
that lure in black people and steal their brains and inject their brain into them because they're younger and more agile and they want to live forever. But the question would be, but that kind of answer
your question,
that
right?
because
It's the brain.
But
right?
it kind of answered their question in a different way because remember, as soon as they saw a flash of light, they became themselves again for a little bit.
Right. So I
there
feel
was
like
still
maybe you can come in
ties
and
to
out
it,
of consciousness,
even though their brain was different.
Right.
So maybe like your brain is like a big part of it, but your body also retains some sort of memory in some way.
It has to. It has to because your brain is connected to your nervous system, which is, your nervous system, like I said, is your central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord, but then we also have our peripheral nervous system, which is everything else, basically.
What is the peripheral nervous system? Like you said, is everything else, but like
so the central nervous system is brain and spinal cord and the branches that directly come from the spinal cord. Then the peripheral nervous system, and I hope I'm not saying this wrong, is the branches after those branches. So like the ones that go to the rest of the body. Like
gotcha.
That.
Like Inception.
Inception.
The little mini branches that go to everything.
There are so many branches.
So many branches, and your boyfriend's
branch.
So many branches.
He's a branch too.
Branches got many branches.
Branches
as well.
got many branches.
That's crazy.
Right.
So like, we talked about stem cells. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. What's like the coolest, weirdest? I don't know. Just like being a doctor and like learning all about the human body and stuff. Like, what's like some of the crazy stuff you've learned? Just like drop some knowledge bombs. As far as just like cool stuff you've learned, or maybe like the coolest thing you've seen is being a chiropractor or something like.
Genuinely, the coolest thing I've seen is the IV stem cell infusions. I'm blown away by. Even just a year ago, I didn't think any of this was possible. I didn't think there was a cure for MS or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or even a halt or reversal or even a pause of the disease. And I'm seeing it, I'm telling you with my own eyes,
Reverse.
I'm seeing patients and their symptoms reverse. And it's not a medicine that's like, kind of taking away the numbness. No, like, holy shit, my own cells are regenerating the nerve or whatever is damaged. Because a lot of these diseases are autoimmune, which means your own body is attacking its body or genetically somehow mutated. I don't know. It's autoimmune diseases are crazy to me in general.
Are they?
But I would have to say that's the most fascinating thing that I've learned.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's not even. Like I said, I love where I work because it's integrated. So I'm learning from the medical staff there all the time.
I feel like that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you have an all-in-one kind of situation, I feel like a lot of times people will go see one specialist and they'll tell them one thing, and then you'll go see someone else and they'll tell you a totally contradicting thing. But if you've got everyone under the same roof. And that's what I tell my
patients is, I'm like, okay, listen, the cool thing about this clinic, and one of the reasons I love working here is because we treat every aspect of the pain cycle. So there are multiple aspects specifically relating to chiropractic and disc injuries and all that. So the way I explain it to them, I'm like, okay, you can go to a massage therapist over and over and over and over, but if you don't address the structure and the actual abnormalities in your spine, the muscles are going to continue to be tight around your spine. And no matter what you do and how many massages you get, you're going to continue to have that until you address the structural abnormalities. Or vice versa. If you only go to a chiropractor and they never touch your muscle or address it, that muscle directly attaches to the bone. So cool, you can adjust all day long. Your subluxation's gone. As soon as you walk out of there, that muscle is tight. It's going to pull the bone out of alignment again.
So how do you address that?
So we have the chiropractic adjustment, which obviously makes sure that you have no subluxations, no fixations. We always do soft tissue work. So whether it be stretching, we do vibrocussor, which is a tool to help break up scar tissue and break up muscle spasms, bring blood flow to the area. We also have, again, everything we do is alternative and homeopathic, but we have trigger point injections. And a trigger point are those little balls or knots of muscle that you get that just kind of seem to never go away, and I know everybody has them in their traps. And that's because, again, a structural issue, and they call it text neck, but everybody is buried in their phones, and we're literally reversing our cervical curve. So once you reverse that, all these muscles are going to stay tight. But anyway, going back, trigger point injections, we have this, it's called Traumeel, which is a homeopathic plant-based anti-inflammatory, which literally eats away at scar tissue. So homeopathic, again, going into the muscle, and then we treat the disc and the nerve through decompression, which allows that disc to be decompressed and therefore reopen up the hole where the nerve is coming out of so it can stop being irritated. And then we address, again, any muscle imbalances with the physical therapy that we have implemented. So it's all in one building. We have
That's fascinating.
a lot of services.
That's amazing.
If you can think of an LA Fitness, that's what my clinic looks like. It's a huge clinic, and you walk in, and the gym is to the right, and then the clinic is to the left, and it's
literally a gym. They have a gym there.
It's literally a gym. The gym is called Superior Health Club, and my clinic is Superior Health Care. It's all one unit.
Wow.
And the reason we do that, again, is because we want patients to come in for care, get them well, get them out of pain, heal their actual cause of pain, and then they actually get a free membership for 3 months, because we want them to go to the gym and take care of themselves.
That's really
that's
cool.
what we're trying to advocate. So
and do you have personal trainers in the gym
we have
too?
personal trainers. We have CrossFit inside the same place. Like it's a huge clinic. It's a
Whoa.
big, like that's what I'm saying. Imagine an LA Fitness with medical doctors and chiropractors and PT, and we're that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We're in there. We're in the clinic.
So someone's listening to this and they want to go. Where are you guys?
We're in Canton.
Nice.
Come to Canton, Georgia, and
Take
come
the
visit
trek
me.
up to Canton, Georgia.
Come visit Dr. Dre.
Come visit Dr. J. So question. So you guys have CrossFit there,
Yes.
and I don't know. I talked with my buddy Adam. Have you ever met my friend Adam Kashoro? Maybe.
Oh wait,
He's the meal prep dude.
is he black?
Yeah, he's black. Yeah.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he was on the podcast, and he was the first episode actually, and we talked a little bit about this of what kind of training style he prefers, and all that kind of stuff, bodybuilding versus powerlifting versus CrossFit versus martial arts versus everything, and we kind of both had the same sort of conclusion that CrossFit, when done correctly, is very great, but very easily can you have bad form, and very easily can it be done incorrectly and can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, half our patients are CrossFit people that don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're
That's
like, "Well, I
amazing.
got injured in CrossFit." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Come into the clinic."
No
Let me
shit,
fix
you're
it."
lifting heavy objects
Right.
over your head
Right.
improperly.
No, I know.
It looks cool, but
CrossFit definitely vibes on my level, because I told you I was a gymnast, so I love the rings, the ropes, the bars. I'm all about
Yeah,
it, and I'm
yeah.
extremely competitive. But it is so easy to have shitty form, especially when it's a competition and people cheat, and then I just don't even get it. I mean, there are so many things about CrossFit. I don't do it. I lift by myself because I see how many injuries it causes, and I start to almost feel like I have a nagging shoulder injury from gymnastics, and actually my nurse is going to give me PRP therapy in my shoulder, so I'm excited. But yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
why would I need to do 70 snatches in 2 minutes? Like that doesn't make any sense. Nobody needs to do 70 snatches or 50 hang cleans.
I can
and it just
understand
doesn't
if you're
make sense.
training to be a lifter for if you're trying to make a career out of it,
Like a
or if you're
CrossFit Games, but
very passionate about Olympic style lifting or whatever. But I just I don't know, man. Like I hate hating on what people like to do and what people want to do.
Right, I know, I
But-
understand.
And it looks cool. Like I cannot hate on the fact that lifting heavy objects over your head is badass. Like it is.
But I'd much rather go to the ninja course and be a ninja.
Yeah,
any day
same
of the
here.
week.
So that's my thing is
Be a ninja.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather just be a ninja rather than lifting heavy shit over my head. But what you're obviously super fit and you're very into fitness. What kind of training style would you most associate your personal training style with?
I just lift weights, regular.
Would you say more
Monday's leg day,
There we go.
Tuesday's chest and tries, Wednesday's back and buys,
So kind
Thursday.
of bodybuilding style?
Yeah, I guess bodybuilding.
Your goal is not to lift as much weight as possible. You're not powerlifting.
Never. I never max out anymore, and especially because my career comes first now. And before, when I was still in school, I was always maxing out, and now, I mean, like shit, I'm telling you, my joints can feel it, and I just feel like I am getting older, and to me, it's not worth having an injury as to where I can't work. What if I hurt my shoulder because I was being a dumbass trying to max out on bench? Then I can't adjust my patients. Then what are they going to do? Like, it completely affects my career.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I put that into mind first, and then everything else kind of falls behind it. But I love lifting. I love being in shape. I incorporate sometimes like plyometric type workouts. So kind of like CrossFit, but not the dumb 80 snatches over my head.
Yeah,
more so
I'm with
like
you.
the cardio type workouts where you're doing box jumps
high
and
intensity
burpees
interval training kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
sometimes I incorporate
I'm with
that.
you. I love box jumps.
Yeah, I love box jumps too.
They make me feel so badass.
I can jump pretty damn high.
You can.
Yeah.
I've increased my vertical pretty high too. I'm pretty definitely box jumps make you feel like a badass in the gym when you're like jumping super high and like everyone's
and everybody's always impressed because I'm like a little white midge.
Yeah.
I'm a
How tall are
Mexican.
you?
I'm like right round up to 5'2", but I'm like 5'2". I'm 5'2".
You're 5'2". We'll say 5'2".
We'll just stay there.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, to be able to jump pretty high as 5'2", that's pretty awesome. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, cool. I know you're trying to go to bed pretty soon, but just to wrap things up, kind of, if people are, interested in chiropractics and they've never been to a chiropractor before, what would you encourage them to do? I mean, obviously, besides just going to one or going to see you.
Come see me. No, genuinely, if you have, I mean it, any health condition, like whether it be headaches, like I said, any type of musculoskeletal pain, so back pain, neck pain, elbow pain, any kind of pain, any kind of, honestly, I get patients that come and tell me, wow, I had the best night of sleep in my life, or wow, my allergies have started to go away, or I've had patients that have gone off their blood pressure medication, and this is all things that people don't think about. But again, think about it.
Because it's like this alternative medicine.
If you have, like I said, just think about what chiropractic really is. And if you had, for example, the one nerve that is going to your heart somehow is impinged to an extent and it's causing your blood pressure to raise, like, again, it's all lifestyle. But I've had these things that get told to me all the time. And especially also patients think chiropractic is not for babies. And it is, and it's not the same, so don't think I'm sitting there like twisting a little baby's neck. It's very, very gentle, but patients that bring their babies for care, they're like, my baby has no colic. A lot of times babies have a hard time feeding to both sides, like they only latch on to one breast, and it's because they'll have a subluxation in their neck. And think of how traumatic birth is.
Yeah.
They literally yank the baby's head. They pull it, and a lot of times it causes like very minute subluxations, but also think of how many times a baby falls when they're learning how to walk and their pelvis. And the most important parts of the spine are the top, the head, and the bottom, which is like the brainstem, and then the end of it, which is the hips and the sacrum, and that's what tends to subluxate on little babies. And it'll be things like they are feeding to both sides, they don't have colic, they're not waking up crying all night, and it really is, like I'm telling you, do your research. They'll be healthy, happy babies. So it's a lot more than just even pain. It's really just like health in general.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So do your research. They have obviously good and bad doctors, good and bad chiropractors, good and bad dentists, good and bad trainers. We have good and bad of everything. So if you've heard a negative chiropractic story, I'm sure that it's true, but there are good chiropractors, so just do your research, and I highly encourage you to try it because it will literally change your life.
That's amazing. That's awesome. It's probably a good place to wrap it up. Anything you want to say to people where can people follow you on Instagram or whatever?
You guys, I love lifting and I love margaritas. So my Instagram name is Muscles and Margaritas.
Muscles and margaritas. Nice.
So if you want
Margaritas not first. Muscles is first.
Muscles is first. Margaritas. Muscles and margaritas. Mostly it's just a compilation of my BS life, me drinking and flexing and taking selfies and being a bullshitter. But hey.
That's cool.
Yeah, so feel free. I love meeting new people and making new friends.
Yeah.
As Andrew knows.
Yeah. We actually met at a concert, which is crazy.
We did.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, but yeah.
We met at a show.
Yeah, 7 Lions.
7 Lions.
Yes.
I love electronic music.
Yes, me too.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yes, that's where we share our passions.
Share our passion. Fitness.
And music and health and yeah.
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 And
music.
And music. And all
drinking.
of it. And drinking. we have a lot of similarities.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
we're what? How many years apart? 7?
I'm about to turn 23. So
8 years apart. Well, about to be 7 years apart.
About to be 7. Yeah.
So we're 8 years apart.
Yeah.
And we're close friends.
Yeah. You know what's crazy too is a lot of people that I've had on the podcast.
8 years? Did I add that wrong? 5 years.
I'm too
Guys,
tired.
I'm honestly special. I thought I was 30 for a second, but I'm actually 28.
You're already in that grandma mindset.
I'm 30.
Yeah, you're 28. So we're like 5.
We're 5 years. Scratch that.
When did you turn 28?
January.
Okay. Yeah. So like 5 years apart.
I thought I was 30.
Yeah. It's okay. It's late. We're good.
It is late. It is. I'm telling you.
But yeah, actually, it was interesting. I've had a lot of people that are older than me on the podcast. So like Adam, my friend, I think he's
my age.
27.
I think. Close. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Trey that I had on today, he's 25. I had my friend Parker that was on earlier, that is 26. I think he said.
Huh.
So like, yeah.
Gaining all the knowledge from the mature old people, huh?
Yeah, I think.
Am I the first girl on your podcast?
Unfortunately, you're not. But you're the second girl.
Ooh.
My friend Ashlyn was the first
the
girl.
worst, second the best.
Exactly.
That's what I heard.
Exactly. Well, cool. And if people want to find you, as far as chiropractic stuff, they can go to where?
You can actually go to Superior Healthcare, the Canton location. And if you click on staff, you can literally look at my bio. You'll see my goofy little face on the website with my bio, whatever. But
nice. Feel
free to call the clinic. I will be more than happy to help you out if you have any issues.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's it, folks. See you next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you learned a lot from Dre. I know I did. If you want to follow Dr. Dre, she is at Muscles and Margaritas on Instagram. That is all one word. She posts a lot of good stuff on there. Muscles and Margaritas. And if you live in the Atlanta area and you want Dre as your chiropractor, go to Superior Healthcare in Canton and just ask for Dr. Dre. If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to go to iTunes or the podcast app if you have an iPhone and find the Andrew Deitsch podcast. Just search it. You're probably already there. Leave it a 5-star review and give me some feedback. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you would change, what I should do differently. I would love to know how I can make this podcast better. Also, like I said in the beginning, downloading all the episodes and subscribing helps tremendously. And I'm trying to get in that new and noteworthy section. It's the #1 place where people find new podcasts. And if I can get enough downloads and enough good ratings, then I can get featured in that section. And then I will be organically being reached by all the lovely people that use that app and use iTunes. So that would be spectacular. If you want to follow me on my social media platforms, the best way to find me is to go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. And you can find links to all of my social media handles and accounts. That's all I got. Episode 8 is coming up next with the professional dancer, artist, world traveler, model, and athlete, Elizabeth
Ward. She shared a whole bunch of stories with me, including her views on college and why she won't be going back after 3 years, moving to Berlin, being a nude body painting model, being homeless, sleeping in her car, and selling selfies on Instagram. Sounds sketchy. That podcast should be up shortly, hopefully today. So stay tuned, you savages. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Seriously, if you guys are listening to this, you're the reason why I will be continuing my mission of spreading amazing conversations and stories from fascinating people. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.